Hi, I'm Galina Bilaeva, and my guest today is Pete Freeman from Global Kitchen. And Global Kitchen hosts cooking classes in New York City, led by immigrants, in order to preserve and teach traditional recipes. Pete, welcome. I'm happy to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy to speak with you.
Pete, so how did Global Kitchen start?
Sure. So, my colleague Ryan Brown, who I co founded Global Kitchen with, had the idea originally, and he had traveled to a number of places around the world, and I had this experience as well of
You
going
worked
to,
for Peace Corps.
yes, I was in Peace Corps and traveling around to various countries. We both found that the way to really experience the country and the culture was through the food. And so both being lovers of food, that seemed like a natural way for us to travel. And then we went to graduate school and ended up in the same class at NYU in New York, and were in a social enterprise class within the business school of NYU. And there was a pitch competition to come up with a business idea, form a team around it, and write a business plan and make a pitch. And so we formed our team around the idea of Global Kitchen and ended up winning that competition and moved on from there. And at that point, we sort of said, why don't we try this out? We think that New York is a great place to launch an idea like this. There are people from every country in the world in New York City, and it's such a unique place to be able to experience food and culture from all over the world. Why don't we give it a try? So in May of last year, we had kind of a test pilot with Vida Suku, who is from Guyana in South America, and she led a class mostly with our supporters and friends, and it went really well. And then in the fall of 2012, we launched formally, and have been growing since then.
That's awesome. And how did you find immigrant? It's mostly immigrant women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
how did you find immigrant women who would do it, who would get the idea, and agree to dedicate their time to it?
Sure. So we did that primarily by partnering with organizations around New York City that work with those immigrant populations. Um, so New York City small business centers, um, and Hot Bread Kitchen are a couple great examples of sources for, we call them chef instructors, for our class leaders.
So, did you have this idea for Global Kitchen in the very beginning, or did it evolve from something else?
Actually, the main focus of the business is the same as it was, a year ago, when we began discussing the idea earnestly. And sorry, over a year ago. And that was to host these cooking classes, led by immigrant instructors, in order to share their food and their culture with New York City residents. And the way that we are monetizing that basic model and bringing in other revenue streams, that's what has changed over time. So we've kept that main tentpole of these classes, and off of that we've built other ways to kind of disseminate recipes through our website. For example, at globalkitchenny.com, you can find a number of recipes from our instructors from all over the world, and we're in the midst of pursuing to bring in revenue and keep the doors open, essentially. So one of those is um, by putting the classes on um, in ebooks. So the classes wouldn't the books would involve a video of the instructor teaching you how to cook a dish, a list of the ingredients that you need, and also some stories from the instructor's background growing up in Guyana or Egypt or the Philippines, whatever the case may be. So we hope to reach a much wider audience, national or even internationally through that media. And so that's just one example of other revenue streams we're looking at.
So, do you think that's something that is gonna work right now? Is it something that people would like to pay for, or is it more in the future?
Yeah, we think so. Cooking ebooks are starting to take off, um, and we think that this is only going to continue to grow as the use of iPads continues to proliferate, especially in the U.S. and other countries as well. Um, you don't want to. The ebook can add much more than just a basic cookbook in your hands. It can tell you a story in addition to the recipe, and so we think that there's a lot of added value in that model.
Awesome. Is it hard to execute from a technical point of view?
Yeah, so that's what we're looking at now is that technical aspect, and there are some upfront costs and some programming, and so that those are the kinks that we're working out now, and so we hope to move forward with that soon.
Okay. And so, do you believe that the organization can sustain itself in the long run without attracting any funding from somewhere else?
Yeah, so to date, we've essentially bootstrapped and financed all our expenses with revenue through the classes and a couple of very small awards from pitch competitions. Um, in order to really scale up, we are looking at other revenue streams, as I mentioned. Another one being distributing recipes through email subscriptions is another popular model of generating some revenue with the content that we have. So we do believe that it's sustainable, and people have really shown an overwhelming interest in both the content that we have on our website and through social media, but also in person in the classes. And so that's been a really rewarding part of working in the business.
That's great. So, Pete, how many chefs do you have in your in Global Kitchen?
Yeah, so we have 8 instructors now, and we continue to add them all the time. Um, they range from the Philippines to India to Egypt to Guyana in South America, as I mentioned. So we are covering, as much of the globe as we can, and as I mentioned before, New York City is such a great place to do that. We have a Senegalese chef as well in French West Africa. So there's really such an opportunity to have a rich, diverse group of people who can make you feel at home and essentially take you into their kitchen and show you how to make what they make for their family and tell you the stories of them learning it from their own mother when they were growing up, and people really respond to that well, so that's been great.
Pete, and how do the chef instructors feel about working in Global Kitchen?
Yeah, and it's been a really positive experience for them too. It's a bit of supplemental income for them, but more than that, it's an opportunity to market their own business. I don't think I've mentioned that actually all of our instructors have their own food-related businesses. So between catering or having a food truck, they have their own business that they are working on, the other days of the week. And so for them to be able to reach a whole new crowd that they can market to and increase their sales is really one of the primary driving missions of Global Kitchen. And then on another level, for them to be able to share their stories with New Yorkers and really make that connection with people who, oftentimes live in other communities across the city is really rewarding experience for them as well.
Yeah, and how many students usually attend the classes?
Sure. So the classes are typically 12 to 14 attendees, and we like to keep it on the smaller side and intimate so that everybody has a chance to really interact with the instructor, ask them any questions they like, ask them to go into more detail about, be it the food or their own personal lives. We really see the class as a cooking class, but also the time for the instructors to share their personal stories. So we want to keep them, fun and interactive. And most of the classes are what we call here BYOB. So they bring your own beer or bring your own wine. If you want to roll the dough, there's the opportunity for that. So that's the spirit of our classes.
So who are your students usually?
So they're a big range, but there are people who like different kinds of ethnic food and different kinds of diverse food. They like trying new things. They like to travel as well. We see a Global Kitchen class as an opportunity to travel to another country and learn about another country without leaving your city.
Right.
So typically they range from their 20s to their 40s or 50s, and like to travel and like food.
Are you looking to expand somewhere else in the U.S.? Or do you think it's better to keep it in New York and then make this ebooks with videos and expand that way?
Right. We think there are opportunities to do similar work, the same work in other cities with significant immigrant populations. And so perhaps down the road that would be an interesting thing to look into. For now, we are focused on expanding our offering in New York and really solidifying our presence in New York and reaching people around the country and around the world through the internet and other means that I've mentioned.
And what are the biggest immigrant cities in the U.S.?
So other logical opportunities would be Washington D.C., would be Boston, would be Los Angeles, San Francisco. We feel like all those cities have significant immigrant populations, have similar interests in food and culture from around the world. But as I said, for now, we're definitely focused solely on New York City.
Pete, well, thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you here. It was an awesome conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Glenn. I really appreciate it.